So I know you said you don't like you don't like hard intros, but it's a special episode.
It's a very special episode. Potentially our last episode for like a long time.
Oh my god.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think that as long as I continue to be able to see you on a regular basis, that's okay.
Yeah, that's all fine. We'll continue to be friends. The reason this is a special episode, everybody. Hello, welcome to the Homegames podcast. I'm Joseph. This is Yazeed.
Hello.
It is July 4th. Happy Independence Day, USA, etc.
He is wearing the USA T-shirt.
Yeah.
I should have worn like a communist country's T-shirt just to fuck with you.
Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed. You just show up wearing pink. Soft.
No.
But it's a special episode because as of this morning or a couple hours ago, I am pretty much done working on Homegames, at least for the time being.
Woo.
Not like I'm giving up, but basically we have built, or I have built, I don't know how you want to word that. We have.
Joseph has. And I sat on this couch and watched him do it, basically. I'm a real piece of shit.
No, you have been my cheerleader the whole time. It's been great. But yeah, basically Homegames as a thing that I wanted to build. Never really had a clear idea of what exactly it was. It kind of became more clear as time went on, to be closer to what it is today. And we'll talk about what that is. But basically, yeah, like I built the thing that I wanted to build. It's been 5 years. It's been a big fucking deal for me, and it's been so much work. And it feels like this is kind of my. I told Synovia, it's like you're graduating high school, but no one gives a fuck. It's like you're graduating a high school that you made up. Yeah. It's like I decided.
Graduating high school, but you already have a college degree.
Yeah. Well, yeah. The high school graduation thing is more of just. It's like. I remember crying at our graduation just because of the weight of the moment, even though I hated high school. You know what I mean? Just like the bigness of how it felt.
Mm.
This is my whole life, and now I'm going to do something else.
Yeah.
So this has been my whole life, you know? I mean, true mental problems have probably started in my brain because of all of the work I've done on this shit. Like, I no longer have fun.
No.
No, I'm just joking. But yeah, it's just been a big thing. It's been a big thing for 5 years. It's like the end of an era, the end of a thing. If this project gets traction and people see like potential and they want to keep building stuff and whatever, obviously that'll be great. If not, it'll just continue to be what it is. I think as time goes on, I want to make it better, improve it, do more to it, make it even cooler. And obviously that's a lot easier if anybody else cares. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, we built this. I'm incredibly proud of it. It's so much fucking work. This is the podcast where we talk about it, I guess. But it's been like 3 months since we recorded. And I've been working on a bunch of stuff, a game and core system changes and the website and the publishing process and testing and just so much stuff. Anyway, I'm rambling. What's up? How are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. I'm big chillin'. I mean, congratulations. This is a huge thing to have done.
Spilling Budweiser on myself.
Thank you. Very American.
Very, yeah.
Man's really living the American dream right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big accomplishment. What I guess I have questions.
Sure.
My first question is like, when you started this, right? How long did you think it would take to make?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I think maybe in the beginning, if you go to the earlier episodes, I would say something like, "Oh, we should have this done in about this many months, or maybe by next year, I'd like to have." You know, it was very loose ideas. Like, maybe I would like to build an iOS app for this thing because technically we could. You know, technically the design of this thing supports non-web browser clients, so we should make that. But it was never solidified as like, what am I actually trying to build? It's just what's something that I could build and what's a reasonable time frame to do it. So I don't really know. Like the earliest version, I was just doing WebSockets. I was just trying to do render a game over a WebSocket, and then I got it. And I was like, okay, well, what else should I do with this or whatever? And so I didn't really have an estimate, but ended up being 5 years, probably a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy shit. Yeah.
I guess my next question is like, I know it's like a joke for engineers or software people to like start side projects and then they go into the side project graveyard when they're like I worked on it for like a week, and then they're like, fuck it, I don't want to work on this anymore.
Right.
How did Home Games survive? How did Home Games survive the shelving?
Honestly, it's probably the public aspect of it. So it was I had this project a long time ago. Actually, it's probably kind of like a predecessor to Home Games, called Happy.io, HAPI. And this is kind of the way I've always been, which is like, that project was because I got a job. I was working on campus, and I was a web developer, and I started learning about React and WebSockets. And the React stuff, I was like, oh, I want to build a web application with just like, just simple components or whatever. I just wanted to build something for myself that uses this thing I just learned that I see these real people using in the real world. And so Happy was basically just like, it was basically a S3 bucket that I let you write and read to with filters. It was very simple, but the idea was categorized happy content via an API. So it's like the thinking, and my core problem is that shit is generally fucked, and I like when things are better, so I like people being happier. It's very simple the way I think. I like people being happier. So my thinking was, make an API, you have a category like dogs or food or whatever. Websites could integrate with this API and basically just allow users to submit happy content and then get back happy content. Just thinking this very loose thing. Posted it on Twitter. One of my friends was like, hey man, that was super cool. Like, shout out to you for doing literally anything that you don't have to do. Yeah. And I was like, cool. That, thank you for that recognition. At the end of the day, this thing sucks. I'm going to shut it down. Like, whatever. Like, it's stupid. So I did. So part of it was like, I was just trying to learn. I didn't really believe in it. I didn't really know what it was. And I didn't really care, Yeah. Like, it didn't really matter. So this one was like, well, obviously I like games. I like the idea. I believe in the idea, and you're involved. So I'm like wasting your time every time I do anything. No. So it's an added pressure. It's an added, you have to do it. And on the nights when it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m. and I'm really tired, and I posted a tweet and it's got 3 views and they're all me. It's just like, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, fuck.
But I mean, I will say that's not the best time to posting tweets.
But that's the thing is, like, I so don't care about that. And I've learned that. It's like, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. I don't fucking care. I want to tweet something that I regret and then read it back the next day and be like, hey, charge it to the game. You know what I mean? It's just like
it is what it is.
It's just real. But I mean, I don't know. It's this thing of the entire time I've wanted someone to get it. Yeah. And I think now that we have this thing, and I'm gonna make some videos over the next a couple days of just like getting started, how to install it, how to play. And I haven't even talked about this game that I've been working on. That's actually like a showcase for what the system does and what it is. It's not just a demo. It's not just like a test. But man, like, it was just the pressure. It was just like the pressure of knowing that people knew about it and didn't care. And that pressure made me be like, well, you don't care, but I'm gonna make you care. Like, I'm living in like a movie. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, the montage is happening when I'm writing the code. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm happy I made it. Yeah. It's here.
So Home Games would go on happy.io.
Yeah, I still have the domain happy.io. So.
It's a good domain to have.
Yeah. Someone tried to buy it from me a couple years ago. It was pretty weird.
Oh. I own my own domain, like my name. Yeah. And somebody tried to get it from me too.
Nice.
And I just never responded.
What's the price? I want Yazeed.com.
Also, can you I don't have Yazeed.com. Oh, sorry. I don't have Yazeed.com. I have Yazeed.dev.
Wow, lame, dude. I mean, not to flex. I have Joseph.zone, so.
That's a good one. Yep. I don't know. I honestly don't even know how much that costs me a year because I don't really do anything with it. Yeah. But I'm Yazeed, so I want to hold on to it in case I do want to do something cool with it.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like $40 a year. It's hard to say that it's not worth it, even though you don't do anything with it today. Yeah. Yeah. It's like Yazeed.dev. It might be worth having in 5 years.
Yeah. Could you put like your CV on there?
That's what Joseph.zone is a resume.
That's smart.
Yeah. If I ever got real down bad, I would just do one of those, like, when people rent out like a billboard, which is the URL. Yeah. I'll just put that in like whatever major city and hopefully just get the jobs rolling in or not. be incredibly disappointed, just like my tweets for home games.
I feel like your resume on a billboard is the hardest sell possible.
No, I just mean Joseph.zone on a billboard, and then you go to.
I know, and then you go there, but it's a resume.
Yeah,
that's like a hard sell because you'd have to have somebody who's like looking for an engineer, and they're also the kind of person who's just looking at billboards and being like, "What's up there? I'll look at it."
I don't know, dude. I used to think that billboards were over because it's so like not computers.
Yeah,
but I went to San Francisco, which last year, which is like the tech capital of the world. You know.
Yeah.
There's billboards everywhere. Like Apple invests so heavily, Airbnb invests so heavily into billboards.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, because you're stuck in traffic all day on the highway. So anyway, it's just an interesting thing of like how I would advertise. That's another thing. Through the years, I've like tried I've tried making this like, hey, watch us build the project. Watch us try to figure this out as it goes. That's what this podcast is. That's what the YouTube stuff has been. And until you have the end result, it's really hard to get people to try to follow along because they're not invested because they don't know what you're trying to do. And what you're really saying is invest in me as an idea. Like invest in me as someone who could build something cool that you might be interested in or whatever, which I don't know. It's just interesting. Like I've fucked up so many things and I've tried so many weird things and I've wasted so much money and time and doing so much stuff trying to figure things out over the last 5 years for this project. And it's awesome. Like I'm really happy because I learned so much shit.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. What was even the last thing? What were we even talking about?
I just asked if we would go on happy.io, I think, and they were talking about domains.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The dumbest domain I own is Coding Cowboys.
Coding Cowboys?
.io.
Codingcowboys.io.
So, you ever watch the like documentaries, like the Cocaine Cowboys documentaries?
No.
You didn't strike me as the kind of guy who would, but
my history with Breaking Bad should have been to tell that I'm probably not interested, but yeah.
Basically, it was like I think in the 80s. Obviously, in the 80s, a lot of drug smuggling to Florida or whatever, cocaine, whatever. There's this documentary series called Cocaine Cowboys that my cousin used to like because it was just a bunch of like gang members being gang members, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, Codeine Cowboys, and I think eventually became a mixtape from 2 Chainz because codeine, cough syrup, whatever. And so Cocaine Cowboys to Codeine Cowboys, and then obviously Coding Cowboys, you and me, Southwest, we write code. It's perfect. Coding Cowboys.
That is a good one. If we ever start our own like engineering as a service firm.
Yeah. To me, Coding Cowboys could be our LLC that makes or our nonprofit that makes home games.
Our nonprofit that makes home games is now a nonprofit.
I don't know. Home Games is nothing. Home Games is not a real thing. but if we had a legal entity or whatever behind this, I'm pretty sure we would need a nonprofit. Because I don't know how we would have a thing of like shareholders and like trying to make profits consistently. I that's not a thing I want to do.
No, yeah, we wouldn't IP.
No, but just any business, I think you need to have like a board. I think if you want to have an LLC, you need to have a board of people. You need to have like a meeting of people every year. You need to have some sort of like informal meeting with them. And then you also need to have, there's like legal process behind making an LLC. And then that conflicts with employment contracts, whatever that I would have as like a developer. It's just really tricky. It's just to have a side project. I don't know.
That's interesting. I thought you could start an LLC at any point in time.
Yeah.
And I think people do it to get around like, not property tax, but like estate taxes.
Well, I'm sure there's a bunch of weird shit, but I just know that at least one of the jobs I've had before, very specific thing was like you can't be a member of a board of an LLC. You can't whatever, or even have like income in other ways. So if we were to sell a T-shirt on Home Games, like I don't know how we would do that because I don't know where that money goes and like how to break it down or whatever. So I just don't think about it.
We could do a nonprofit. I'm down to do a nonprofit because then any extra profit that we get would go to charity, I think.
Or just change our salaries. Anyway, yeah.
So it just keeps ticking up slowly.
Yeah. Give yourself a raise every year. It's like, oh, darn, didn't have quite enough for charity this year. We'll get them next time. Yeah. Anyway. That's like the business stuff of all of this I've never thought about. I don't care about, and I just wanted to make this thing and give it to people and see if people cared. So far, no. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like what you were saying, where it's like it's hard to get into. Like I would describe it as like it's hard to get into a sport that's not running. You know what I mean? Like people played soccer, but you weren't really like into like one set of soccer. You were just kind of just playing with a ball, basically.
Yeah.
And then when soccer like became like a sport, then people were able to like, okay, this is how you play soccer. Then people were into soccer. I think that's a poor comparison because that was over like a long time, but I think that's like kind of the vibe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think in general it's just this thing of because I'm too unintentional about things. I like it's like, yeah, we have a Twitter. Yeah, we've got some followers on there. Yeah, I tweet to followers, but I'm not trying to get more followers. But that's what I should be doing. Because I should be trying to get more attention on this thing. Because the whole point is to get people at least engaged with it, to give me feedback, to tell me what sucks about it. Yeah. Well, you don't even have that. So I have this very loose thing of just like throwing shit out and just being like, I don't know, you care, fucking whatever. Which, I don't know, it's not a good way to be. But yeah. The whole project's been in this weird half thing because I've never fully depended on it. Whatever. I just do it. I don't know.
Yeah, I read somewhere that like most indie games are like take off when the person making it, like they're not the primary income, and also they don't do anything besides working on this thing. Like Celeste, like the lady who made Celeste, like she wasn't the primary income, and she just sat around making Celeste the whole time.
I think it's similar with Stardew Valley. I think that dude.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I mean, like just like statistically, it is a harder entry point. you are the bigger income earner, and
yeah, I don't know.
You do work another job.
Yeah, I have like a whole regular job that I work full time. Like it's insane. I don't know.
Man's putting in PTO requests and also grinding out home games.
Yeah, that's what I say, that I probably have some sort of like things to work out now. It's really hard because the way I've trained myself over the past few years, several years really, is just whenever you have free time, that's work time. Yeah. That's your work time. So it's like when you have real free time, you feel bad because you should be working on this thing. Yazeed's going to come over to do the podcast in a week or two. What are you doing? Like, why are you sitting here playing Far Cry? Why are you sitting here playing Zelda? Like, yeah, you like video games, but you're an adult, you fucking loser. Like, and it's like this thing I have in my head where I'm just, it's really hard because I used to like that stuff and not feel so bad. And I'm hoping that as I take this little break over the next few months, I kind of get my brain back and I just get to enjoy stuff or whatever. But yeah, man, it's been rough. It's been a rough week. I didn't realize how much shit was left to do until I really got in the thick of it. And I was basically trying to, okay, so just to take a step back, I guess, we recorded the last episode probably 2-3 months ago and basically said, yeah, we're working on shit, trying to get it done by the 4th of July. It's like, cool. What does it mean to be done? I have this crazy list of stuff on my whiteboard. It's all over the place, but essentially it was make sure all of the services that are there work consistently. The publishing service, if someone can go and make a game and upload it to the website, can someone else go download it and play it? If I go to homegames.link and there's no server, does it show me there's no server? If I go and there is one, does it show me there is one? That kind of stuff. Just making sure the entire system as a whole was working. But then when you get into the nitty gritty and you realize, for example, that you have a horrible memory leak problem, and if you leave the server running for more than about 6 to 8 minutes on any computer, it'll just eat up your memory and crash. And I had never noticed that before because all of my testing is not like that. My testing is in the moment, see the change, restart the server, see the change, not let it keep running and genuinely play something on the screen. So that was one problem I'll talk about. Huge memory leak. Didn't know what the hell. I had to implement a fix last minute, whatever. Another thing, like for publishing games, the process of publishing games is really just give me JavaScript. I will run it on my machine. And if it passes the test, I will put it into an S3 bucket and let other people download it to their machines. Right? That's basically what the process is. But I realized you could give me bad, like a game that does something wrong, like makes a network request that it shouldn't, and that's one thing. You could also just write a straight up virus. You could write ransomware and just give it to me.
Yeah.
And I'll run it happily. And it's just the process. So I was like, well, fuck, what do I do? And then realized I needed to basically run that stuff in a Docker container, like the true 2319 from Monsters Inc. You know, your code, this dome is the Docker container. It's not just the host I'm running it on, because yeah, this host is disposable to me. It's just an EC2 instance, but I don't want you bringing it down. Yeah. So I should have something here, and just things that I don't think about, right? Like, and then trying to make all of this existing service work in a Docker container a different way. And then another change was before, in order to get HTTPS certificates locally, you needed to be signed up for an account and signed into the account on your command line. So basically, you download Homegames, you change your config, and it says, I want HTTPS. I basically want the good version of the client. I don't want this like no audio weird experience that I get without it. And then so you say that you want HTTPS configured to be true, and then you say whatever, start the server, and it'll ask you to log in. For a regular user, they're gonna be like, what? Like, why do I have to log in? And I get that too. I fucking hate making accounts for shit. Like, I don't like it. So why would I have to do that? Whatever. Remove that friction. How would we remove that friction? Remove the need for an account. How do I generate certificates without an account? How was I tracking them before? Well, I have to track them like this differently. It's just really nitty gritty shit that you don't think about until you're in it. And that's not even the game I was trying to work on. The game is literally the big thing I've been working on. But all this other shit is just extra. So, anyway, you have anything to say to any of that stuff before I keep going?
I mean, that was a lot, but I think that out the gate, thank you for always putting in so much work. I think it's pretty cool. It's not cringe.
No, effort is cringe. We'll get back to that.
Effort's not cringe. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I have a couple other questions that I think it would be more interesting to like get into it and then maybe ask some questions afterwards.
Sure. Let me talk about the memory leak.
Yeah.
So this is like a super interesting problem that we had. So again, realized that we basically would crash 6 to 8 minutes after starting the game or starting the server, and running pretty much any game. And then I had this kind of moment of panic because this was about 5 weeks ago, and I realized everything was hard crashing consistently. So I looked at the resource monitor and saw that memory would just creep. You start up the process, as more things would happen, it would kind of creep more, but it would always go up and never go down. Starts at 50 megabytes of memory to 60 to 100. And me, I don't really know what's good. I'm just thinking, 100 megabytes, that's pretty low. Chrome's using 4 gigs, you know? Like
yeah.
So my node process using 100 megs is pretty solid. But creeping, and then it's like, oh shit, it's a gig. Ooh, maybe a garbage collection cycle is going to happen. And ooh, hopefully this fixes, because I don't know. And it never went down. And then I realized that the flaw was pretty fundamental in the design of Homegames and is one of the worst things that we have in Homegames. It was the root cause, and really just came to bite me in the ass one more time. But so basically, generally speaking, the way that this stuff works for people who are not aware, JavaScript does its own memory management. You say, these are my variables, these are the things I'm working with, and at a certain point when you stop using a certain variable, when it's not referenced anymore, JavaScript will go through on some sort of a cycle and be like, okay, these things I'm going to clear up and free the memory. You don't have to manage that stuff. In an old school language like C, you would have to manage it with functions called malloc, allocate memory, and then free memory. And then that's really tricky, but you have to, anyway, it's a different style of programming. You have to think about things differently. So the way that Homegames works is the way that your game is structured kind of logically is in a tree structure. You have these nodes called game nodes that represent, a thing on the screen, or maybe a sound asset or an image asset or something like that. These all just represent like a game component, and they're structured in this tree in a hierarchy, right? So this is how we have layers. Like this thing is over here, this thing's on top of it, this thing's on top of it. We kind of go through this tree and render it down. So to unrender something, to remove something from the screen, you remove the tree, right? Mm-hmm. So if this is my main tree, and then this is a red box, and then this is the thing on top of the red box, I can remove this subtree, and all the red box and everything that was part of it is gone. Great, that works for rendering, it works for whatever. But the problem was that under the hood, Homegames is making a proxy object of all of these game nodes in order to listen to updates on them. So when you say, give me a game node, we say, okay, we're going to go and construct a bunch of game node stuff over here, and we're going to give you this thing back that we listen to. So when something is updated, we know to update the game state and send out a new render. We've talked about this before, why it's a bad idea to do that and not having explicit state updates and having magic listeners and stuff like that. Whatever, but it is what it is. So basically, because we had these proxies, the proxy was always referencing the original node. You can remove it from the tree, but the reference is always there, and I never clear out the proxy. I never mark it as something that can be cleared. It's just there. And so that was memory leak. Every time you do new game node, memory leak. So again, last minute, what the fuck do you do? Like, am I supposed to update the entire interface to not have this magic listener thing? We're fucked if I have to do that.
Yeah. So,
okay, I'm going to add a free method. So, like, you can do, basically you say, this is a node, I know I'm done with it, node.free. It basically marks it as something that can be cleared, and whatever. It's a shitty, difficult chore that you have to do when you're making a game now, to remember to free the memory of the stuff that you've allocated. It's unfortunate. It works. Whatever, that's what it is. So anyway, it's just the experience of being so excited and being like, wow, this game is working, I finally got some assets drawn and some music in, and oh, fun.
Yeah. I think that, like, for me at least, like, when stuff like that happens, it is always so disheartening. Yeah. I feel like I'm just like, fuck it, I don't want to do this, I'll give up. So I think it's really cool that you were like, well, I'll come up with a solution and fix it.
That's what I'm saying. I have to.
Yeah.
Like, I have to. I can't get on this podcast and be like, I'm sorry, I give up. I literally can't do that. So, yeah, I had to. But it was a pain in the ass. Luckily, the stuff worked that well. There was this method, with the proxy object, just to mark it as freeable. So, really nice, but man, what a feeling.
Yeah. That must have been devastating. I mean, I think it's cool. Memory leaks are always interesting, especially in, like, language that in theory like garbage collect, because I think people are so used to them just managing memory, just working, and when they don't work, it's like, what do I do exactly? Like, how do you recover from this position?
Yeah, it was interesting having to think about that stuff, and I don't know. I don't, to your point, like, I don't really know if I would have processed that like that if I didn't know C, if I wasn't familiar with the malloc and free thing, and the idea of garbage collection happening magically under the hood, and JS, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's one of the things I think about often, where you could teach somebody JavaScript, you could teach somebody how to make a home game, you could teach somebody how to do something interesting and cool that they're proud of and they can play and feel like they contribute or whatever, but they don't really know anything still. Like, you don't. The beauty of JavaScript is that it's easy.
Yeah.
Relatively. Like, I don't know if that's good. I think I said before, but you kind of need to suffer when you're learning this shit, or else you're just not going to get it.
I don't know if you need to suffer, but I think there's so much breadth to computer science or to programming in general.
And breath, just...
Yeah, you got to breathe a lot when you're coding. Open mouth, just really letting them rip, you know what I mean? Just a real mouth breather. No, I don't know. I mean, there's like a lot of theory that I think a lot of people just don't like play with or really think about or like contend with. like the completeness problems and stuff like that. Like people don't really think about it, but like those are important.
See, I don't understand that stuff. When someone's like, "Oh, this language is Turing complete," it's like I have an idea of what you're saying, but I'm not like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't talk like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people talk like that, but I think that that's the difference between like when people are learning like HTML and CSS, right? Like if you learn those, for the most part, people are like, "Oh, those aren't Turing complete." Right, but like that's like the theory, but like in actual functionality, you tell somebody like I wouldn't code a website in only HTML and CSS. You know what I mean? Like if it has to do complicated things, like you should use JavaScript for that, because that one it's easier to write it in JavaScript. I think that's how it manifests, and I think like the allocation of memory and stuff like that. I'm sure somebody could figure out like what's going on and like working with it without having had any experience with C. It just makes it easier. And like you start to view things differently. Like the advice you would give somebody is slightly different.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't think I would agree that you just kind of need to do JavaScript. I think if someone was learning something, anything, you need to teach them. Or I guess you first need to understand what you're trying to do. If someone's just trying to build a website, like a website in the traditional sense, my resume on joseph.zone, I don't need JavaScript for that. I don't have any JavaScript on that. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to build. But there's this very like reactionary, immediate, hey, I'm building something. Bro, use a TypeScript, whatever, fucking EC2, whatever, Kubernetes stack. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I'm trying to put text on the internet.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you just have to like understand what you're trying to do and the tool that you're using to do it, and if it's a good tool or not. And I think the boot camps, like the fact that you can make money programming has made a lot of people get somewhere fast without knowing stuff behind it. And I don't know.
I think I agree with you. What I was trying to say was like if you're doing something complicated on a web page, like Wolfram Alpha.
Sure.
Like that kind of stuff, where like you're taking in like a mathematical formula and you're like trying to do an operation with it. I wouldn't do that in HTML and CSS. You could with that combination, but it's easier to do it with just JavaScript.
But even the understanding that that's an option as opposed to an HTML form submission to a backend that does the calculation and returns the results. Like there's so many ways to do that.
Yeah.
And JavaScript's awesome, but you don't need it for everything, you know? I don't know. I don't even know. All I'm saying is it was an interesting thing because in my head, Homegames is for a novice to build something that they can get iterating on. And I don't know if my interface is good enough or robust enough for what they need or too complicated. Like if it's, I don't know. I don't know what it's like learning programming right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's true. I would say that memory management is probably the hardest aspect of C for me. Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I hated C.
That's why I love C.
I thought it was fun in assembly, and I hated it in C. So I don't know what's wrong with me, but that is weird. That is the something about that I don't like.
The idea of memory allocation in C was always so cool to me because it's basically the most perfect you can make software. If I never use a single byte of memory that I didn't need, that's just fucking cool. Like you wrote perfect code.
Yeah.
It is cool. It's appealing. I don't know.
Listen, it is cool in assembly, and in C, it just makes me want to quit computer science. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Man, I don't even know. I was gonna have like a list of topics, but I just figured we'll freestyle it.
Freestyle it all the way through.
So, yeah, memory leak fixed.
Let's get into the fun stuff. Let's talk about your game, though.
I was trying to get through everything before that, but I'm pretty sure that's about it. Yeah, so the game is called Vegas Trail. The game is basically the idea was I really like Oregon Trail, like the original DOS, or no, not DOS, Macintosh version of Oregon Trail. The one that had the hunting. The one that had the crosshairs where you shoot the buffaloes.
I think that is DOS.
The DOS one is the one where you like walk around and it's text based. It's like the early version of Oregon Trail. The one I played was on an Apple computer in elementary school.
I don't remember anymore, but sorry, continue.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure, because there was an emulator too online, and I found it, and it was like the Mac version. But basically, this very nostalgic feeling of Oregon Trail in elementary school, and I'm sure a lot of different generations have this too, which is interesting. But just the hunting game was so fucking fun, man. Like, you shoot the buffaloes, and you get this big lead bullet traveling slow motion to these buffaloes, or whatever other animals.
Rabbits.
Yeah, rabbits. But the thing is, you want the buffalo because you're getting food from them. And the whole point of Oregon Trail... Okay, well, first, the hunting game was fun. That's what I remember, right? Like, when I was in school, the hunting was fun. When I played it on this emulator a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I realized how much about resource management and, like, simulation and education that game is about. It's all about teaching you about the people who made this trip and the different landmarks along the way. You're leaving from this part to get to this place, and then here's this rock with these settlers and these people and this history and whatever. And when you hunt, it's because you need food. And you need food for all of your people who like will die if they don't get it. And then there's this thing of if you shoot 9 buffaloes, you're limited because your people can only bring so much back to the truck. It's very much about resource management.
Mm-hmm.
And so it made me realize that it was not really what I always thought it was, which was basically just a shooting game.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to make was a shooting game. And so basically just thinking of these core elements of Oregon Trail and what it always was and what I remembered it to be, and trying to make a game that was like that in spirit, not a copyright infringement, and like doable within Homegames, which is a very key thing, because basically what I learned is a lot of stuff is just not doable in Homegames because of the way that the networking stuff works, and there's just limitations in the system. You really we've said it before, but you can't make Halo in Homegames. It's not that kind of a thing. And so for Vegas Trail, it was, what's a game that I can make that follows the spirit, pushes Homegames as a system to the limits, like really showcases all of the features that we support, and there are a lot of them that we've built over the years, and still is a game, but it's not so much that it's unplayable. I kind of fucked up that last one, because if you try to play this game over the public internet with people, it doesn't work very well. It's too much going on and too many updates. But what it is it's Oregon Trail. It's like the same thing. You're a guy, you potentially a team of people. It's a multiplayer thing if you want it to be. You start in a place. It's Tucson in this case. You're starting from St. Mary's Mexican Food, which is
the last hope of Tucson.
It was supposed to be like this post-apocalyptic world where the places are still the same, but there's like creatures and things that have taken over or whatever. So basically, the starting point is St. Mary's Mexican Food. And from that point, you're trying to get to Vegas, and there's checkpoints in between. There's Phoenix. There's if anybody's ever made the road trip from Arizona to Vegas, you know about the Chevron in the middle of the road trip that everybody goes to, because it's like the one thing.
The last one before going to Nevada.
Yes, it's the one thing. It's that one Chevron. Every time you're at that one Chevron. It's weird how it works out, but it is how it works out. So that gas station is the thing in the middle, not called Chevron, obviously. And then the Hoover Dam is after that, and then Vegas. So 5 total checkpoints. So that's like the main screen, right? Is you're just like a little dot on this map, kind of progressing. As you progress, your people eat food. It's one food unit. They're cookies in this game, but one food thing per person per second. So if you have multiple people playing your game, you're depleting food faster.
Yeah.
And so while this trip is happening, right, resources are being depleted as you're driving. At any point, any player can drop in and out of these mini games that are always happening at all times. They're always running and affecting your game. So one of the games is a driving mini game. You can drive the car. It's a road. You drive. Mm-hmm. You run into something, you lose a little bit of health. If you lose too much health, you lose a car tire. A car tire is a resource that you can buy. Right? So this is basically just a resource being depleted as you run into stuff. Well, you can also, like when you're driving, you can also swerve and catch resources, like pickups, money. So this is a game that you could just always play. You're managing this thing, managing the driving. But there's also getting sick is like another thing that happens in Oregon Trail, right? Everybody knows that you've died of dysentery thing. So, well, then we need something that's always depleting your kind of like health resources. Well, then, so fighting illness is like an ongoing thing that you're doing. So I quite literally made a game where you 2 boxing gloves fight different bacteria-looking shits, and you're fighting illness. And basically, they have 3 different states of animation. It's kind of a default state, and then like a left swing and a right swing. And so basically, when they're left or right swinging, you can meet them with your left or right glove. If you do, kind of registers as a hit. If you fail to do that within a certain time period, they get a hit on you. Similar to driving, if they get enough hits on you, you deplete one of your medicine resources. You can buy medicine resources, whatever. And then there's hunting. So the hunting game, Synovia said, was too violent, and it did feel weird, right? Like I'm doing this.
An homage.
Yeah, I'm making it. Basically, it was a kids game, right? And I'm trying to add basically just full on rifles and ammunition into a game and drawing out the assets and like what's a realistic trigger. Like, it's just not the kind of thing I want to be thinking about when I'm making this.
Yeah.
I like guns. I just don't like guns in this game, right? Like, whatever. So
there's a time and place for guns. You aren't just whipping them out on the daily.
Yeah. But so what I ended up doing is I modified the hunting game from a, like firearm hunting thing to a projectile throwing. So now you have baseballs instead of a rifle. So you throw these baseballs, and they hit these monsters that are kind of wandering throughout the desert. They're cacti or slot machines or gas station themed monsters, like gas canisters with eyeballs.
For listeners, if you've watched Toy Story 1, the monstrosities that Sid makes, they remind me of that a little bit. Where they like in my head the fishing pole one with the legs.
Yes, yeah.
That's like a very accurate image you should have in your head when you're imagining the monsters that you're fighting, not the illness monsters, but the monsters you're hunting down with baseballs.
Yeah, that was a cool thing because the idea was we have these 3 categories basically we have these 3 kind of environments. We have this initial desert environment from the Tucson to Phoenix area, and then you have this really. Again, the kind of joke in my head, the joke I'm making is that there's nothing notable about the trip except for the gas station. And so in that middle stretch, the monsters are gas themed. That's whatever. And so, and then by the end, they're all kind of like slot machines or my attempt at dice, which you were making fun of my little guy because he had eyebrows. He didn't look very dicey. But anyway.
That was a dice man?
Yeah, fuck you, it was. But yeah, so it's like more Vegas themed stuff at the end, but it's these little monsters, and I didn't think about how they move. I just thought about I can have a sprite and I can have it move across the screen. You can shoot it, but that looks really bad. There's no animation, right? So what I ended up doing as a little bit of a hack, which is why you think of Sid's Toys, is I drew separate leg animations. Basically I drew one that was just like little feet like this kind of walking. I did one that was 3 wheels like the bottom of a desk chair, and then I did one that was like a rocket ship. And so they're moving left or right, and so the asset is either going to display like the left flipped or the right flipped rocket or legs or whatever, and it'll basically randomly render a leg underneath a randomly generated monster, so that way you have variation. So you have essentially 6 different enemy types and 3 different leg types, but that creates however many combinations of all those things to make it feel better, feel more active. And so that was pretty cool. Like the way that they move and the way that they look. I'm kind of surprised it works as well as it does. Mm-hmm. But yeah, man, that's how that works. And then the final thing in the game for people who've played the original Oregon Trail is one of the things you can do at any point is stop and talk to people. You can like stop and sell and buy or whatever. You buy things, or you can just talk. And a lot of the time the talking is just kind of giving just filler text, like vibe text about the thing or whatever. So that's essentially what I did. Synovia wrote a bunch of dialogue or a bunch of just text for it. I loaded it up into the game, and then I just display it on random sprites that I drew. Mm-hmm. There are people that talk to you throughout the game.
Mr. Sticks, the shop owner.
Mr. Sticks, the shop owner, is the shop. Yes, that's the other thing is I made in order to buy these resources, in order to spend the scrap that you get, in order to buy antibiotics or ammunition or whatever projectiles or of food. You just need to spend money at this shop. So that's the other thing I drew, the little guy's face and all that. A lot of drawing.
You drew a lot.
So yeah, I have like a larger conversation I want to have about that in a little bit. But yeah, did you have anything about the game that, as I've described it? I showed it to you and whatever.
I think an important thing that I want to point out about this game is that it seems very difficult. So simultaneous to you driving your car, the fighting game aspect, the boxing game aspect hasn't stopped. You still need to then switch to your boxing game, then switch back to your car game, and you need to also fight the monsters. This is like it's like a time management, I felt like, along with the resource management, which that was interesting because I don't remember Oregon Trail super well, but I didn't remember it being so timed. I thought it was like more turn-based. Like when you were hunting, nothing else could tick down. That
is true. Yeah, it is. That is the way it was. And I guess I didn't want to just do that straight up because the thinking was that we would have multiplayer. Like, what is a multiplayer Oregon Trail? Well, if you're going to have multiple people doing multiple things at the same time, and the idea is that you're driving, in my head, it's kind of like a Mad Max. Like, you're all just driving and doing shit constantly. It's just exploding. Yeah. It's just happening. And there is no pause. So it's very Dark Souls inspired, you know. But I think when you go to the talk section, I think that it might pause the game. Mm-hmm. I forget. But for what it's worth, the balancing stuff I did last night. That's the stuff I was up till 4 doing or whatever, because it was like very low priority. Was okay. I have the ability to have resources, to spend them, to buy them, to upgrade, to interact with other things. This game works. Oh fuck! What should the numbers be? 100, 50. This depletes at 2 a second. I don't know. So if it feels hard, I don't mean to. I don't know. I just set numbers that would make the game like run.
Yeah.
So that's one weird thing or whatever, but it's always happening.
I mean, it's cool.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think it's telling that you can do that.
It's fucking cool, man.
Yeah.
We could do that in our game system.
Yeah, that is cool. Like, you basically have 5 games running simultaneously, and it runs.
So that's what I was saying. Like, I went a little too hard on the complexity, because there are just so many things happening and updating at any time, and so many renders being sent out and so much to keep track of, that when you're doing these, again, the core design of Homegames is that these renders are all happening over a network. Everything on your screen is coming from a server. So if there's this many updates happening this often coming from a server that's in California and you're in Arizona, it's just not going to be as smooth as if it were on your Wi-Fi network.
Yeah.
So, yeah, basically we found our limit. It's somewhere less than Vegas Trail at the moment. And we can always optimize the system. We can always make something better under the hood or whatever to make it easier to support stuff like that. But at the moment, that's what it is. I was going to say something else, and then I forgot. It is what it is.
How helpful for you was the college class that we took, that we made a game in for this game?
We made a game in college?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, brother.
Oh shit, we did. We did. No, not at all. No,
nice.
Yeah, no, because that one, the game that we made in college was making a game within very specific confines. So the game could have been anything. It's just a skin on whatever project they wanted us to make, and we did. It was like a networked text-based adventure.
Yeah,
is what we made. So like in the idea, you know, that making any game makes you better at making games, sure. But not really.
That's reassuring.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. What I wanted to say, I guess, about this in general is that I am a little bit of an asshole, right? Like with the tech stuff, it's easy to get into this thing of you're a designer and I make things. Right? I'm saying this is the mindset. I'm not saying this is right. I'm saying this is the mindset.
Yeah.
I'm saying you're a manager. You draw pictures. You do bullshit. I make the system. You don't have a database. You don't have algorithms. Fuck everything that's not a back-end system.
Yeah.
It's like arrogance that, you get from learning skills. And I thought like that. And over time, it's gotten a little bit better. I've gotten more respect for people who do the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, and this is probably still true, at the end of the day, if you don't have a back end, you don't have anything. But if you have just a back end, no one fucking cares. You have nothing still. Essentially, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And it all needs to come together in a way that I never really processed. Like, if you don't have designers thinking about the look and feel and the impact of this to the end user, you have nothing. Fuck your algorithms.
Yeah.
And that thinking, I really got into it when I was like, holy shit, I'm drawing assets for this game, and I'm just realizing how much goes into this, like how much goes into making something look and feel a way. Because this game, as it is, was done 4 weeks ago. If you want just a system, worst fucking game you've ever seen in your life. There's no colors. It's gray. It's just like clicking, and you click and an interaction happens. I click this number goes up. The game part of it, it makes you realize that video games are all tricks. That a video game is really only ever just hitting a button and then the game tricking you into feeling good about it. It's like that tricking you into feeling good about it is the entire point of game design. Like the system that can do it is boring and lame.
Yeah, the dopamine hit of pressing buttons.
Yeah, but it comes from the feel.
Yeah,
and the feel is So anyway, I developed like a ton of appreciation for people who do that kind of stuff. People who think about the way that a customer is going to use it and the way it's going to feel, and color palettes and just fucking everything about the way something works.
Yeah.
Just crazy. So anyway, shout out to designers and front end people. This shit's hard.
I never thought Joseph would ever say those words. That's pretty hype for me. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
See, effort's not cringe.
Effort is cringe. I mean, so like the thinking is just what I was gonna say before with the plays is that we did plays where I would rhyme. That was my like thing.
Yeah.
Rhyming is cringe, and rhyming is effort. Rhyming is you saying, I have something I want to get out, but I'm gonna like pre-process my thoughts to be more impressive to you when they hit.
Yeah.
And when they don't hit, and they never will, it's cringe. Effort is cringe. Unrecognized effort is cringe.
Unrecognized effort is not cringe.
Yeah.
Because even if Homegames doesn't take off, it still wasn't cringe that you made Homegames.
I think it will be, because my kids will like watch this and be like, seeing me be like, oh, I'm so excited for this to take off, and they'd be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. The like hindsight, like this, it never did take off.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is if Homegames does take off, with all this back information of like how we got here.
That is true.
We had an absolutely nuts documentary.
That is true, and that's when it's really impressive, because it could have been so cringe, but all the cringe potential energy got converted to like cool energy, like impressive energy.
No, I think cringe has an underlying thing to it, not just the effort, but
it's like I said before we started recording, I've been watching a lot of Kill Tony, and there's something about the science of bombing. It's like, why am I physically moving back in my chair when that guy made that joke? It's because he put effort into it and it wasn't picked up. The effort he put into wasn't translated to like me appreciating the effort.
That is a different sell. I also haven't watched the show, so I can't comment on it.
Yeah, well, to me, this podcast has felt like a 4-year stand-up routine. Sometimes I'm just bombing.
You always came with material, though, and other comedians would respect it, and I respect it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. it's like really hard to process this moment right now because in my head we have a little bit of left to do. I have to update some images, I think, on the thumbnails, and I want to make sure that I want to make some small changes to things. But the thing that we put out, the thing that is available on homegames.io right now, you download it, is Vegas Trail and all of the updates we've made to Home Games. And every time I submit a build and I download it on another computer and I start up the binary and I go to homegames.link and it loads, it's like the best feeling in the world because I'm kind of amazed that it still works.
Let's go.
And just as like if someone ever wanted to take advice from this thing, just making something is so valuable for like confidence and just being better at anything. Just fucking do something. Like literally just do anything. And
yeah,
it's like this momentum that we've built, like from the beginning. Again, just getting JSON data rendering on a screen after sending it over a WebSocket and being driven enough to keep making something cooler to the point where now we have a pretty robust game engine with multiplayer support, images, assets, like a whole, like layer rendering, kind of impressive scaling and collision detection, and just like all this shit that I didn't know how it worked.
Yeah.
And the only reason I made it is because I kind of thought I had to. But it's only because I had started making something.
Yeah.
And that feeling is so fucking cool. It's like I don't know, man. I know more now. And no one ever made me do this.
Yeah.
I know about how games work in a way that I didn't before. Making a game and you're like, okay, well, like I was saying, when you click this feels bad. Why? It's because so much of this is about the design of the game. And like, I don't know, you just learn what's important and like what you're trying to do. And it's just weird. I'm very proud of myself. It's really like fucking lame to say, but it's cool.
It's dope, brother. It's dope. It is dope. It's cool.
Yeah. I don't know. And then shout out to Tynan. Tynan, our friend who makes the music for this podcast. He made the music for Vegas Trail. So I didn't give him a deadline. I didn't give him whatever. I just kind of wanted music at a certain point, but he ended up getting all of it done before I even wanted to get my deadline out. So huge shout out to Tynan. Thank you.
Let's go.
Fuck, man. What else?
You did kind of steal my thunder with the if Seal was going to take away anything from the project. What did you learn about yourself while doing this project? I want to know. Like, was there any like deep insight? What was the mushrooms hit insight?
I will run myself into the ground trying to do something.
Not that kind of insight I was hoping for, but all right.
I don't know. I think a lot of it is just, like I said, learning that you don't know everything, and it's this very easy thing to think that because you're like a smart guy that you know everything.
Yeah. And
then you really sit down and try to do something and realize that you suck. And that's the best.
Has your view on project management changed?
It's incredibly important. I just don't. If we never needed a project manager for Home Games, I just needed to be better at managing my own work. Like if it were multiple people with multiple kind of like scoped projects and pieces of the thing, and again that goes to design. What are we building? Why are we making it? What is this? If you have kind of solid pieces that you need to build out, then you say, okay, well, you do this, you do this, you do this. Now we have a project. Now we have people working on the project. Now we need to manage it. We need someone here. But if it's just me, the problem is me. There's no fix. It's just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if I were in an environment where I needed a real project manager, I think I'd probably have a better understanding of what they're trying to do. Because yeah, especially in something like this where there's kind of like a creative aspect to it, or like a vision or whatever. And say, for example, the text, you want it to be this kind of humor, or you want it to be this kind of a whatever. If there's someone else involved, you have to figure out what the resolution is, if there's any difference between what you two think. And so if you're making a game, like, there's probably some sort of technical part that depends on your creative decision. If we wanted to have this kind of a thing, we need to be able to render text in this kind of a way. So what do we need here? So this decision needs to be made. Like, that kind of stuff, I think I understand why it is the way it is. But when it's just me, it's like, okay, well, I want to add the F word. Fuck it.
Yeah. You actually didn't touch on this earlier, but you have your own font in the game.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Trails.
Yeah, that's true. So one of the things that we added a while back was custom font support. So yeah, you can go and find like an ODT file or OFF file, or I forget what they're called, but basically there's different formats of font files. And the way that works is essentially just drop it in, reference it with an ID, and then when you're writing text for other game nodes, you just say, this is the font I want to use, and then Homegames will render it in that font. Again, fucking impressive. I made that.
It is.
Hey.
It is impressive. It's cool.
But so I found an app on my iPad. It was like $5, and it basically lets you make your own font, just handwriting. And so, yeah, it just guides you through. You have to write the whole alphabet twice. Pretty weird, because you're doing all uppercase, all lowercase, and then you're doing symbols and shit. So like the British pound, I had to write like a good pound.
Oh yeah.
Like what? You know what I mean? If you ever write a home game that uses British pounds as a currency, we're gonna reject that. It's it's 4th of July.
Wait, I play a game that uses British pounds as the currency.
Yeah, well,
not on home games, but just in general.
Yeah, thank God.
They do exist.
Yeah, we'd be out of here if it were.
Some nerd shit, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I basically made the font. It looks like my handwriting, not quite, because it's a robot interpretation of my handwriting on the iPad. It's not on paper, which I think I would have liked to do like a scan of paper. But anyway, yeah, the font of Vegas Trail is quite literally my handwriting, which is cool. And I'm trying to, yeah. Anyway, that is the way it looks. Is my handwriting. I wanted to go for a very amateurish feel, thinking that all the stuff I'm doing is amateurish. The entire project, this podcast, everything I'm doing is very unprofessional. It's very loose. And so thinking that I wanted the colors and the feeling of my game to be handmade, cartoony feeling. And it kind of comes across, I think. It's pretty cool. But, yeah, man. Tired.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Did you ever play, like, what's it called, like Kid Draw or Kid Art on?
Kid Art? I don't think so.
It was like an art processor. It was basically just like a canvas, and I think you have a bunch of different tools to like draw on it on the computer.
Yeah. Like paint, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like paint.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like one very specific aspect of that, where it had like a magic eraser, where as you erase, it would draw something. It's like, it reminds me of the art style that whatever that art thingy was.
Wait, how would it draw something when you erased?
It didn't function really as an eraser. It had like a pre-rendered drawing that it would uncover as you like erase. So it would erase what you made and then like reveal the rendered drawing underneath it.
Weird. Okay. I'll have to look up images because I can't see it in my head, but it looks like the way
yeah, it reminds me of that art style from that
yeah
thing in particular.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. That's one thing too, is I didn't really have like an intention. I'm using Procreate to draw all of the backgrounds and stuff. I'm using Pixin to draw all of the sprites. So like the monster guys on the fighting game, the Fighting Illness, those guys are drawn on like a grid. And then the background on the map is just kind of like freehand drawing on Procreate. There's different brush styles and different whatever stuff. I'm sure I could have gone for a more specific aesthetic, but I basically just went for whatever the default pen was or whatever. So
yeah. I mean, it feels like, it really reminds me of the drive from Tucson to Bellevue. Like, there's a lot of dirt, there's a lot of browns and oranges, and I feel like you capture that pretty well.
I didn't even show you, but another thing, one last thing I'll mention about the game before we go into whatever the next thing is, unless you have anything else. But when you get to different points, there are kind of like checkpoints. So when you hit Phoenix, a certain checkpoint hits, and then all of the backgrounds change. And then when you hit the Hoover Dam, same thing, all the backgrounds change. And so the first area is like desert. The second area is more desert, but in a different color scheme. And then the third one is basically Vegas. It's like lights and walkways and pathways and like the big pyramid thing. And full disclosure, those Vegas assets, knowing that they're going to be the least seen, fuck those up real bad.
No,
the worst drawing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, no. That can't be true.
That's some of the worst drawing I've ever done in my life. Just bad colors, bad lines, bad shapes, bad vibes. So everything is really bad in that.
Also very on the nose for Vegas, I'll be honest.
Yes. It makes you feel bad. It's what Vegas. One of my favorite things that Synovia wrote for the dialogue, because she's awesome. All I did was basically say, hey, here's Oregon Trail. You can stop and talk to people and tell you things about what's happening. Can you write me like 100 of these? I don't know. She did. She wrote me a lot of them, not 100, but one of them was, what happens in Vegas stays with you for the rest of your life. I just love that.
It's so accurate.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's a game. The realest, biggest game I've ever made. And it's there. It's cool. I'll make a video about it showing demo stuff and make people more aware of it and interested in it. But as of right now, July 4th, that build is out. You can play it. And yeah. Fuck.
Oh yeah, brother. It's awesome. It is really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about the game, about the system, about 4 years of the podcast, or 3.5 years of the podcast, about 4 years of working on this, about 5 years of me working on this, about anything?
I guess like what does next steps look like?
Next steps, I'm taking vacation. I'm gonna be out. I'm off the grid for like 3 months, 4 months,
maybe months,
something like that.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll come back. I just need space, time away from this, time away from work, time away from pretty much everything, figuring out how to be a person again, and then we'll come back probably maybe October, November. I'll come back at least. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then see what the state of things is. Add whatever I want to add, fix bugs, make updates, maybe do more video content. I think it'd be really cool maybe in the next year going back to the idea of doing video content, like competitive game development video content, where you and I basically get an idea, we go separately for 2 hours or something, and then build the game separately and then have Synovia judge it or something like that. I think that'd be fun. Just more kind of like disguised marketing, but it's really just video content, like showing this thing. And I don't know. I will always want to make a game or do something. I think it'd be really cool to make a 3D game. Just learn about how 3D rendering works. Mm-hmm. But we'll see. I really have no idea. I just need time away from all this. I'm so fucking tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
What's the number one thing you're looking forward to then? I know there's like a big one, but aside from the big one, as far as time off is,
I don't know, man. I think there's what I want to say is there's a new Zelda.
There's a new Zelda.
I've trained myself to say that I don't have time to play it. I think at this point I will.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to play Zelda, but I want to say I want to play Zelda.
You want to be the guy who does play Zelda.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean? Oh, I want to be the kind of person that would
plays
play
Zelda.
it. Yeah. But yeah, I'm really not sure, man. Like, I don't think about anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see anything like ahead of me. I don't think like a week in the future. I don't see time. It's really strange. Like, I don't know, man. Fuck. What I'm gonna say is, if for 5 years, this has been really the only thing that I consistently think about besides my family and my job. And my friends, right? Like,
yeah,
it's been in my head. It's been a big blob of work and stress and like reward and just like a lot of things. And now all of it's just over, and I also made all of it up. All of the deadlines were made up. The entire idea of the product, the everything was just like self-driven. So it's like I'm a victim of this thing I made up, and now I'm trying to recover from it. It's really weird.
I'm laughing, but I think that is how like self-abuse works.
It's worked out okay for me. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Fairly successful young man.
What's your next big thing? What are you gonna do in the meantime?
I don't know. I'm also gonna take some time off. I'm working on some really big stuff at work that's taken up so much memory continuously for me. It's coming to a close now, so I'm just excited to take some time off, either end of July or end of August. I'm back into rock climbing, so I'm probably gonna keep doing that.
Nice.
Yeah, going once a week for that. So that's probably what I'll continue to do. Just trying to like find some space for me to get away from a computer for a bit.
Amen, brother.
Yeah.
No computers for me, just Xbox and TV.
No, one thing every now and again I'll like do a thing where it's like I won't play video games for a month, or like I'll only work and like actually do work, like all day.
Yeah.
One thing I want to do is I want to spend time with friends in person at least once a week. Because I actually don't do that, so it'd be kind of nice.
Once a week is really often.
Once a week is often?
In my head.
Yeah, it is often to me, too.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to it being like, well, we used to do the podcast every week.
I can't believe we used to do it every week.
Yeah, that was hard. But I think, like, for me, I used to work with a lot of people I'm friends with. So I would see them 5 times a week, every week, basically. And then the pandemic hit, and then we just stopped seeing each other. And you moved back, and, like, we would see each other once a week, which is nice. And then that has, like, shifted away, which is okay. But I basically will go, like, 2 or 3 months, and I will only talk to my dog. So and I visit my family once a week, which has been like my only source of human interaction face to face. I want to like break out of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's like a big thing I want to work on over the next like 2 or 3 months, is just like continuously seeing people in person.
Well, I will have some times where I'm busy, but other times,
that's fair.
If you want to hang out, I will be down.
That's fair.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's weird to think about, like. Yeah, because this whole podcast was you being like, hey, we should hang out more.
Yeah, that's when I get shredded, dude. I don't know. We absolutely just yoked up. So when we come back in October, it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Gorilla walking on your fists.
Just like, absolutely. No, I don't want to get like that big. But I have been working out, so.
Nice.
Hopefully some results show up by October.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think. I don't know. Really weird.
Yeah.
Really weird feeling.
What's the good? What's the good feelings?
The good is that I've built something I'm proud of, and that I'm able to spend my time doing something that I like, whatever that is.
Yeah.
In the next few months. It's good that Synovia's like happy that I'm done.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of crushing because at the moment I don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
Besides like wrapping up this stuff. So it's like, well, in the times where I don't feel like I'm doing anything, what do I tell myself that I'm doing to feel like I'm doing something?
Yeah.
You know. Oh, I'm working on a free open source game project. It's gonna empower people to build. Okay, well, like, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing now, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I'm excited for you to get some time off too. I think it'd be good for you.
I'm gonna read that book. I'm like 60 pages into 1984. I stopped reading and I said, "Oh, I'll come back to this tomorrow," and that was 2 months ago. It's crazy. So yeah, doing that. Still want to read the Bible. I have all these books I want to read, but those are the 2 for the year, basically.
Yeah, I read Animal Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't read Animal
I think it's kind of shit, to be honest. Like, I actually don't understand why people are like, this is like the political novel that you need to read. I was like, this is such a weirdly like paced book, where like basically he just like takes you from like, this is a shitty situation, this is a pretty good situation, back to a shitty situation, and it's like, wow, that's incredible. And it's like, he made that up. This farm didn't exist. Like,
I don't know. That's one of those where like, they're technically high school kid books or whatever, but I just never read them, and I feel like at this point they would still go over my head.
No, I think you'd get it.
I don't know, dude.
No, you'd get it. You'd get it. You get it for sure. I have one more for you, and this is a throwback.
Okay.
What was your song of the week?
Oh,
what
shit.
Maybe the song of the last couple months, maybe even.
That's been so weird, man. Just okay. Okay, well, let me say, the Lil Uzi Vert album is really good. And so it probably is going to be Flood of the Face from that album. Just came out. I'll play it for you after this. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But that's been really the other thing, too. Is so I've said this before, probably on this podcast, probably just to you in person. But the way I've always structured things, literally my entire life, is in phases. Right? Like you're a child. Obviously, it's a phase. And then you go to kindergarten. You start elementary school.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just segmented into these 4 or 5 year chunks that kind of just make sense. So you have this elementary school chunk, this 3-year middle school chunk, high school, and obviously like there's these different eras and these different things. But in that moment, that's all you care about is just trying to get done so you can get to the next one. That's what creates this feeling of being super fucking lost if you don't want to go to college or whatever after school, and it's just like, well, whatever, just like going to work and dying. Like, what am I supposed to do? And so, it's I've always viewed it as phases. And so after college, it was that. It was like, well, here's the world, do whatever.
Yeah.
And there's basically always been consistent things, and now at the end of this, seemingly like the end of this section, which was my Homegames adult section, my 5 years, whatever, it feels like other things have kind of gone away, things that I never thought would go away. Like it feels like music is dead. It feels like hip hop, the music that I like so much, the genre that I like so much, is dead, because a few years ago, all the new up and comers basically were like they either died or whatever. So like the new people coming up are gone. The goats that are there, like Young Thug is in jail, has been in jail for over a year. He just came out with a new album from jail, but it feels like holding on to something that's gone. Yeah. Like, and so like, yeah, my favorite musicians, Kanye's off the deep end. Like, I don't think he's making music. Young Thug obviously is not making much music, from jail. So like my favorite music is gone. It feels like the movies I like to watch got worse. And just fucking stuff sucks, man. And like I deleted my Reddit account. That was a big one for me. It was like truly the end of an era. I had that account for like 10 years. And it's just all these things coming together. It's just so much stuff is changing. Yeah. And one day I'm going to watch this and be like, holy shit, I was in a mode. Like I was in a different thing that day. Because like there's something weird happening in my brain. But like everything is over.
No, I was reading I read the news now because I read it a while ago. But there was a newspaper article and somebody was talking about that where it's like the end of like truly social media. Like basically there's like no more, like Twitter has been having issues like hemorrhaging users, Reddit is hemorrhaging users, Facebook is dead, Instagram isn't what it used to be, it's most like a marketing platform now. TikTok is around, but it's like not the same.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not really like a space, like a common space that like it seemed like everybody was on anymore. Like, and the person was saying like maybe like that will happen again, like because it's cyclical. Things are cyclical, and like somebody eventually be like, oh, how cool would it be like everyone was on this thing. But like at least like for the time being, it seems like that era is over. Like that era in like programming and like the energy of the world is just a little bit different now. It's more like isolated and chunked up in Discord servers and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, none of that stuff stops us from just doing what we always did, which is what you're trying to do, which is just go fucking hang out.
Yeah,
just hang out.
Yeah, no, I'm about it now. I'm over the technical world. As I've gotten older, I've really become more of like a Luddite. Like I want like when I first like was like I'm gonna have like a fully automated house. Like how cool would that be? And now I'm like, brother, man. It's fine. It's fine. The only robot I want now is I have a Roomba, which helps. Is dog hair, and I think you probably experience it too. There's like so much fucking dog hair all the time. Yep. But I want something that washes dishes. I know there's a dishwasher, which is a type of robot, but I want something that puts dishes into the dishwasher hand washes like dishes that can't go in the dishwasher. Yeah. And when that's the extent of robots that I want in my life. I don't want AI. I don't want any of that bullshit. Like everyone's like, oh, it's so cool. Like you can put it into like ChatGPT and it'll give you like an essay or whatever. Like it'll write a letter for you, and it's like, I don't care. I think it's kind of lame, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
I see what you're saying. It's kind of this thing of, you learn the capability, you learn the kind of general potential that this stuff has, and then you just go more into your real life and realize that you don't give a fuck about that. Yeah. And so it's just, you're not just like a computer guy. You're like a whole person who happens to like computers. Yeah. Anyway, Flooded the Face, man. Great song. Face. Yeah. He flooded the face and he matted the wraith. You know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. I don't know.
This is pretty dope.
I miss Song of the Week. I miss doing that.
Yeah. If you had to pick one song off the album, then
that one.
Flood in the Face.
There's there's a few. There's one on there where he covers a System of a Down song.
Oh, okay.
There's one on there where he raps to like, it sounds like a Asian festival, but he's like rapping. What? It's fucking crazy music on that thing, man. Yeah, like I don't know, interesting music. That's the kind of stuff. But what I'm saying is, for that era, it feels like it's on its way out, and there's nothing to replace it. So it feels like this genre that I've liked since I was my whole life. You know, like Nelly to 50 Cent to whatever to all these dudes. And it's kind of just petering out, and it just starting to suck.
You think rock is coming back then? Like with Meniskin and stuff like that?
I don't know what that is.
Meniskin?
I don't know what that is.
They're the Italian band that popped off after Eurovision, and then I got big on TikTok. They were at the Video Music Awards that I was here for.
I don't know. I don't remember. But I mean,
like, do you think, like, basically, I'm asking is, like, do you think like it's a cyclical thing? Like, rap is people aren't as into rap as they used to be. People are now moving towards like other genres, or do you think that like people are still into rap, but rap is just like not performing as well as it used to?
I think it's both. I think with rap, you've seen so much crossover over the past 7-8 years with people like, I don't know if you know who Lil Peep is, but he's one of those guys who died, and his whole thing was like a combination of rap and rock music in a way that it hits your ears as corny when you first hear it, and it goes back to my theory that effort is cringe.
It's not cringe,
because he basically like has his super white guy like, sometimes life gets fucked up, that's why we get fucked up, that kind of shit. But then there's like an 808 drop, and it's like hard as fuck when you say that, and it's corny, like it just is. And then you realize that shit's awesome, you know, like it sounds good and you like it.
Yeah.
And he was really going for something, and the genre like progressed, right? It wasn't just Nelly, 50 Cent, like it wasn't, or like old school rapping, you know, like hoo hoo hoo, like that kind of rapping. And so it always progressed to have this more crossover stuff, like poppy or rocky or whatever. So I think it leads people into being more open-minded to other genres and trying to whatever. But also, there's no new person like really making it cool.
Yeah.
It's just old guys making good music still, but there's no next.
This is the problem that rock ran into a couple years ago, I will say.
Which is fine, like stuff ends, whatever. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's just weird when something that you thought would be a thing is just not. Reddit died overnight because of that whatever like protest shit, and then all this like things can just change so fast. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Homegames.io.
Homegames.io.
Check it out.
Things change. Homegames.io.
Yeah. This episode's called Effort is Cringe.
Oh, is Deadpool cringe?
The character? Like as a concept?
Yeah.
No.
Because he says maximum effort.
Oh. That is cringe, yeah.
No.
A catchphrase is cringe.
Catchphrases aren't cringe. I have catchphrases. Does that make me cringe? Don't say that. Don't say that on a recorded podcast.
I'll tell you after. I'm just joking. I don't know. I have nothing else, I don't think.
I don't think I have anything else.
Yeah. Well, that's going to do it for a while. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, our music is done by our friend Tynan. He is Nightan on Bandcamp. That is Nightan, Nytan. Thank you also to Tynan for doing the music for Vegas Trail, which is available now, July 4th, 2023, Independence Day. Go be independent and play Vegas Trail. Homegames.io. Yazeed loves you.
I do love you all. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you again.
Bye-bye.
Bye.